Okay, guys, I want to introduce our speaker today. Some of you guys have met him already, some of you haven't, but this is Anthony Smith. Anthony has come to us through divine intervention, which means I met him at church. And met him at church, but he actually reached out because he saw us on our Tap Business Connect Facebook page. And he's like, hey, I kind of like what you're doing here. Tell me a little bit more. And then he came to the after hours and to a morning meeting, and he just got it. And he has some really cool stuff that I think he could teach us. So I'm just going to let you take it away and stop talking about your business. Right?
Thanks, Andre. Appreciate it, man. Like, you guys can clap. It's all right. I appreciate it. Well, I'm kind of short, so I'm going to get out in front for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'll also get behind the computer too. Then you won't see me, but it's all right. How's everybody doing? Good? Good. All right. So today we're going to talk about something kind of cool. But first, a little introduction, because, you know, why am I standing up here? Who am I? Weird. All right, moving on. So I used to lead this practice up in Bellevue. I was called Bridge Partners, and basically like the organizational change management process. Anyone familiar with organizational change management? Cool, couple of y'all? Sweet, awesome, yeah. So super exciting. I had a great opportunity there. Really kind of grew that business line. And then I went to another consulting firm, and as their COO, I helped to drive the business from 2 million to 12 million in 3 years. So that was pretty cool. A lot of operations, right? A lot of like hiring and firing and making sure that, you know, the right people are in the right role. And then, went on to do Microsoft work, and that was super cool. Been there for like a decade, and basically had the opportunity of like sitting in front of, you know, people like, you know, Amy Hood, Satya Nadella, and like, you know, talking about worldwide like lead management around their beautiful product, which is now decommissioned, HoloLens. So that's cool. But it was $1 billion business, basically. And you know, if anyone knows anything about Microsoft, like you don't really have a business unless it's $1 billion business, and that's just how they roll. And that was just weird for me. I was like, wow, that's a lot. So. And then that led me to like really start this business called Corporate Synergy Solutions. The logo is also on my hat. People are like, "Oh man, that's a cool logo." I'm like, "Yeah, man, I designed it." Some symbols, you know, what's up? It's whatever. But you know, basically, it's taking all that experience and bringing it into like a consultancy, but using software, creating software for businesses. So we create custom software for trades businesses right now, but we do professional businesses as well. So if you ever have a need, hit me up. But we'll talk about that for a little bit. And all of that has led to a really cool, awesome experience with my family and my friends and all the people, right? This is the human side of me. So let's talk about it, right? You know, we have my son, Jericho. We love Jericho. Everyone say, oh, yeah, he's so cute. And then, you know, my wife and I, we go to church. It's super cool. We just love spending time together. I help out with the youth and stuff. And then I get to hang out with my dudes, you know, it's a great life. It's a great life. I also play golf, Devin. So if you ever want to play, you know, hit me up. All right. All right. I'm blind in one eye too. So, okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So I was born premature. I was born 1 pound, 4 ounces, 10 inches long. I stopped breathing for 14 minutes. So the doctors declared me like dead, you know, and, you know, so that's why for me, like, it's really impactful and, you know, impacts my faith, but also it's just like, man, like, I'm so excited and you're going to see me be excited. And that's why, you know, I'm here. So yeah, let's talk about it. It's great. It's great. All right, cool. Now with that out of the way, let's talk about cool stuff. Long title, The Invisible Glue of Autonomous Business Operations. Basically, what does that mean? Absolutely nothing. But really, what I want to talk about is moving beyond like passive chatbots, right? We talk about AI. AI is in the throes of just everything when you talk about development, right? Today, how many of y'all know AI? Yeah. I hope, yes, please raise your hand. Okay, great. So what we're going to talk about today is how AI can be effective in your business, right? And how you can use it. I will be name dropping some people, so just be ready, you know, be ready. Okay, so when we look at and yes, this slide deck, by the way, was created by AI. All right, so we'll throw it out. Secrets out. Okay. Now you already know that AI is smart, right? Hopefully, well, maybe sometimes it's smart, but for a good percentage of the time, it can be good. But when you think about like what AI does, writing an email faster doesn't necessarily move the needle forward, right, in your business. But what it does do is when you start thinking less of it like being a text and summarization tool to now how you think about how does it operationally do the heavy lifting for you and how can you kind of be that checkbox? How can you be that human in the loop to move things forward from a heavy lifting perspective? That's the value. So really when you think about the transformation, it's how can I have AI be working for me so I'm stop waiting for the AI to do certain aspects, right? So a lot of what we see in AI today is that like you stop, you have a conversation with ChatGPT or your favorite LLM, and then you wait for a response, an answer, right? And then you type back, and you're like, hey, I like it or I don't like it, or hey, go make this change or whatever. And it's just this conversation back and forth for a very long time. And then you're like, finally, you got it, thank you. But what I want to talk about today is how you can actually move away from the UI of chatting back and forth and towards a AI that's an active digital like member of your team, right? So you probably hear this and you see this a lot, but really what this means is that you're perceiving the environment, like the AI is perceiving the environment, it's acting upon a trigger and it's making a judgment call, right? This is all part of like how AI is becoming that active team member. It's leveraging this idea of goal-oriented planning. So what's really important is that you give AI a goal, right? And then it goes and figures out the best path, the best strategy to go execute that goal. And then when you look at software, right, and we'll talk about it, but when you look at software and the boundaries of software, being able to move away from like one step or, hey, I click this button and it does this thing, to AI being able to do multiple things at once. So things like, deep research is really interesting, right? It's able to go find hundreds of websites, right? Do some deep research, come back to you with a summarized point of view, etc. So that type of thing, but how can you do that at scale, not just in one agent, right? And then the last thing is AI that actually does work for you, right? We all appreciate our time. We appreciate the value that we each bring to the table. But how can we each have AI be working for us while we're here, right? That's a benefit because then we get more done, more productivity. All right, so we're going to talk about one example here, which is that goal-oriented example. I built a software. It's called ConnectQR. I think it's great, but I'll let you guys be the judge. So what's really cool, I think, about this particular software is that we're all in this room. We're all like networking, right? And actually, it was last month I had this idea. So I was like, man, like meeting with Pat and Kevin and Jeff, who I forget his name all the time, but I remember this time, and Alan and Stephanie, etc. And it's like, man, like I have to remember all the things I promised them, all the things that like they it's true. All the things that they like. I have to remember like, and I got my phone, I can put it in my notes, right? But like, what if I actually had like a relational CRM, right? That like actually can do work for me. So there's AI underneath that can actually like let's go to it. Let's go to it. Why talk about it? Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna sign in. Maybe. All right, cool. Already signed in. Beautiful. Look at that. So I have 36 connections, but let's say, for instance, right, there was this aspect of like, I'm in the room, I'm having a great conversation with my boy Dave back there. He's my hype man, I've decided. And he's like, hey man, I'm looking for a marketer. And I'm like, man, who in my network is marketer, right? So I got this voice to text thing, marketing, right? And boom, okay, cool. Now I got people in my network that I can go like reach on and say, okay, cool, these are people that do marketing, right? So that's not the cool part, but I just wanted to show that. But what's really nice is that like now I'm able to quickly make decisions and quickly go drive impact for Dave because he's looking for marketing, and I don't have to sit here and try to remember everything. AI has got my back and got all that in place. Now, there's this coaching, right? Okay, so there's this coaching scenario here where, and I won't get into any of the relationship things over on this side, but what's really neat is that like from an AI perspective, every relationship is critical, right? I want to build a relationship with Alan. Pretty cool dude, right? We've had some great touch points, great conversations. I'm not going to remember everything 6 months down the road, but my AI will, as long as I'm inserting those things. Now I can come to this layer here and say, hey, my relationship with Alan, and I can be like, hey, what do I talk to Alan about, next week, right? And then, boom, it can give me a list based on all the conversations, all the things that have happened in that conversation, all the things that have happened within his business. It will go scrape his website, it will go scrape news, all this stuff. And then that way I can actually have an effective conversation with Alan when I meet with him next, right? Those types of things. Yes, Cindy?
Having a conversation with Eleanor, hey, I'm gonna put my phone down and record.
Yep.
Keep notes and stuff. Is that something
Absolutely.
you have, or-
Yeah. So basically, too, you can record, right, the conversation, and then obviously take that file, go upload it as part of your touch point, call it a day, and it will pull on those things as well. So super awesome. Obviously, I'm not here to pitch the software. What I am here to pitch is this idea that like AI can be part of your process in your business, right? This is how I solved a problem when I came last month, and I was like, tons of people in the room.
Yeah.
I got to remember all this stuff. I don't want to remember all this stuff, but like, how can this be remembering for me, right? And so that way I can be more effective. But the most important thing, the reason why I'm showing this though, is once again that AI has this process of like an MCP. How many of y'all heard MCP before? All right, cool. So MCP is like a bucket. All right, simple terms, a bucket. How data works today is a bunch of APIs. You make a purchase on Amazon, Walmart.com, whatever. It's API taking your data from one server and moving it to another server using that API layer, right? Does that make sense? Cool. MCP is a bucket of API or like a bucket with APIs already in it, right? Packaged together in a neat little bow, right? So basically it can have anywhere between 5 to thousands of different APIs already in there. And then now when you're chatting with Claude, Gemini, whatever, you can say, hey, you can go connect that MCP up and say, hey, I want you to go ahead and create a new connection, and it will go do that. So what I've done for this software is I've created an MCP, and so now I can actually go to Claude or I can go to OpenAI, whatever, and I can say, who's new that I don't know? Give me a Matt, thank you. Matt's new. Met him for the first time today. So I can say like, hey, Matt, like, hey, I want to go ahead and add Matt, right? And it will go do that. It will ask me questions and then it will show up inside my dashboard, right? So super cool. So be thinking about from the business perspective, what types of things can I go automate inside like an MCP or inside a scenario where it can go do the work for me. And we'll talk about some of that and what I'm doing for the trades business. It's super cool. I think it's super cool, but it's awesome. Okay, does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's
right.
pretty cool.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. All right, next slide. The sidecar problem. So enterprise software is overgoing a massive shift in this day and age. There's $234 billion of traditional software that's at risk right now. Crazy. We've never really been in a time like this. And people are tired, man. People are tired of dashboards. They're tired of subscription fees. They're tired of all this stuff. And that's why we go and have these conversations with Claude and ChatGPT or whatever, because we just don't want to have another tab open to do these dashboard type things, right? But when you think about another sidecar like AI app, right, that does your work, you're thinking about, okay, like how can I limit the amount of dashboards and just have one place to go to run everything? And I think that's why OpenAI is starting to take this idea of like the super app, right? And having like Canva and having Zillow and all this stuff inside of the app, because then you don't have to leave it, right? It's right there, right? I'm all about like, well, why should I keep being like tied to one area when I can go make that opportunity for me, right? So when you think about your businesses, be thinking about like what type of app can I make that I can turn into an MCP that I can bring anywhere to Claude, to OpenAI, to the next LLM, right, of choice. And then that way you're not beholden to one LLM or another, right, for doing the work. Or if they've engineered it in a certain way and you don't like it, then what? You're stuck. But giving yourself custom flexibility is what it's all about. All right. So the true cost of doing business, sorry, let me get my water in. PSA, Please be drinking water. It's healthy for you. Okay. So when you think about like the true cost of doing business, it's not necessarily task execution, right? It's going to be the coordination overload, right? And so when you think about that, it's how do you feel about the actual job of moving data around? Like so basically when you think about your job, you or your task, whatever, a lot of tasks today, you're taking data from one location, one tab or whatever, and you're moving it to another tab, and then you're doing an activity, and then you're taking that output and maybe moving it to another tab, and etc. And that's a lot of mental load, right? That's a lot of time between tabs, etc. and focus. And that's what I call like manual labor, basically, right? You know, you're downloading a file, you're reading the file, you're reading an email, you're moving it from QuickBooks or CRMs, etc. I call that the hidden tax, right? It's the hidden tax of your time and your profit, and how you get that back. Well, great topic, the orchestration layer. And we'll talk about this in a minute. I'm so excited. Orchestration layer is great. So AI is not necessarily a application, right? It's an orchestrational layer. And what I mean by that is imagine like a digital sheet of glass that's sitting on top of your like ERP, your CRM, your databases, if you guys have databases within your business, right? And think about this as like your executive team, right? So that sheet of glass is your executive team that can make sense of all the data that's in your ERP, that's in your CRM, that's in your databases, et cetera. And it can start being the glue, right? And pulling levers based on what you need as a business. So think about the tools that you may already pay for. Canva being a good example. A lot of you probably create marketing assets on Canva, right? How cool would it be to just like not and and have AI go do that for you, right? And you give it a prompt or you give it a system, a tool, and you say, hey, based on these things that come in from my business, this CRM lead or this ERP function, this amount of money that's coming in, go create this campaign, right? So I'm doing that for my business. I always like to dog food my own stuff. So I'm doing that for my business. And then I'd like to release it as a piece of software. But what's really nice is that like we're in that age today. We're like, I don't have to do any marketing related stuff. I can just let my AI do it for me. And then it comes out with good results. One of those examples is the CSS Service OS. So like I said, I dog food. I say that a lot, but I really do. I really take like importance on that because like if it's not working for me, I don't want it. Like I just don't want it. But if it is working for me, how can I go put it into a software that I already have? So one of those softwares is called CSS Service OS. And what's cool, this is for all my trades people in the room. If you're not a tradesperson, it's cool. We can still be friends. But basically, this is looking at everything related to a trades business, right? So you have the command center, you have AI assistant, customer and jobs, dispatching, field execution, like estimates and proposals, cash and collections, like everything, right? There's 18 different capabilities, I believe, of how a business can and should operate. We'll just jump to that because I think that's important for everybody here. I call it the capability library. So like, intake and triage, dynamic dispatch, field execution, cash collections, nurture and retention. How do I nurture leads, etc. Telemetry and reporting. This is my growth section, marketing growth, sales growth, leadership growth. Like as you think about a business and you being the owner of that business, how am I growing from a sales perspective, marketing perspective, operational perspective, from an owner perspective? Am I learning? Am I doing those things? Where am I jotting that down at right now? Is it in my notes or is it in a system that I can go like gain insight from later down the road? Human capital. A few people talked about hiring people, firing people, right? Those conversations are tough, right? But do I have data to kind of back that stuff up? Well, where am I logging that, right? Comms and knowledge or safety and compliance as we're kind of going through like on the job site, if someone gets injured, like am I making sure to log those things appropriately, consistently, right? Is there an auditable like auditable scenario where I'm able to say, hey, like this was the process that we went through and this is how we executed things. So anyway, all that's here, right? And I believe, this is my personal take, I believe that a trades business, operates on these 18 core capabilities and tenets. Now, within that, if you click on any of these, like, there are different features that are available. So each of the 18 different components has different features that are available, and then they kind of turn off and on. Now, because all of this is together in a massive app, right? I need AI to basically be that layer to coordinate with, because this is pretty big, right? So the cool thing is at the very top, there's this AI assistant. Now, we talked about this idea of how can AI be a multi-workflow scenario, right? And this is that. So basically, there's like 18 different AI agents built into this app that have different roles, different functionalities, just like you would hire 18 different people to do certain things. And then we have an orchestration layer on top of that that like then manages all those 18 different people, right? Or agents. And then all that flows into this AI assistant. So now when I'm asking it like this question, like, hey, how's my revenue trending over the last 6 months? Great. It's going to go work. It's going to go find tools. It's going to go find the agent, and then it will come back with a report. And not only will it build a table, it will build then a graph as well.
Is it pulling info from your QuickBooks, from your?
Yep, from all that, because all that's coming into the system.
Yeah, you made this?
Yes.
That's amazing. That's very
Thank you.
thorough. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Now,
I'll
what's
buy that.
what's cool is thanks, man. I appreciate that. I'm jotting down your name right now. Hold on, Matt. Matt. I appreciate it. So
You use House Call Pro. This is like 10 times better.
oh, I know,
Yeah.
I know, but I know, but I think that's part of the reason now. Like we're in a day and age now where there's just no excuse to make a product better, right? And so as we're thinking about like software related specifically, but as you're thinking about the $234 billion of SaaS that's at risk, this is why I can go make it better and cheaper, right? And so why not? Get Pat.
And it's great because I got a lot of Google Sheets with like a VA that's constantly typing.
Yeah.
Can this just scrape all my Google Sheets and plug the data in? How is that? Is that? Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
Look, 100%. Like why not? Like let's give it a challenge. Like insert it and then just let it do its thing, right? That's what it's good at, summarizing data. All right, cool. So again, the cool thing here is the AI assistant layering everything together. That's another way. So we talked about ConnectQR, which is how you give the MCP over to a Claude, to an OpenAI, and you can be interacting with your app right there and then. This allows you to interact with the app, but now with multiple AI agents doing the work for you. So that way you can kind of manage one person, and then they're almost like a manager, office manager, right? Okay, cool. Does that make sense so far? Great. Well, I didn't really hear yes. Was that a yes?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks. I'm deaf in one ear too. Surprise. So that's great. Did you have a question?
Wait.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand. All right, sweet. Appreciate it. All right. Okay, next is the SOP. Where's Jamie at? Jamie, hi, welcome. Good to see you. I met with Jamie for coffee. It was great. And she talked about SOPs, right? I'm going to talk about the agentic SOP, right? Same type of thing that she does, right? Perceive, reason, act, right? This idea that like she'll sit down in a business and she'll perceive that business, she'll reason out what needs to happen, what's not happening, right? And then she'll present recommendations on how to go about creating that SOP or those KPIs. Is that right? Correct. See, heard it from her. It's true. What's cool is that your agentic AI can do the same thing as well. You don't know this, but I'm going to be working with you to build you a custom map because I think that'd be really cool for you.
Let's go.
All right. It's just my gift to you. It really is. It really is. All right. You do quality work. Okay. So same thing, like agentic AI is here to help you with your SOPs, help you with your KPIs and processes. I think, from a trade perspective, right, you guys are out here doing great work, right, but making sure that your employees stay on task and that they're doing the things that you've asked them to do. Sometimes that's a hit and miss. Where's my J and K people? Yep. Right.
Yeah.
Right. You guys know. And at the end of the day, you want to make sure that that these SOPs are inside your business, but they're not like stifling the ability to get work done, right? And so you want it to be a seamless scenario, and that's what like a lot of this software from AI perspective can help do for you if you implement it correctly. Where is my mouse? Here you are. All right. Okay, crossing boundaries. So when we talk about this, a lot of the problems that I see from an AI implementation standpoint isn't AI, right? You'll see another slide, I have a pretty graph, whatever. But basically the idea is that data is the reason why people get in trouble. If your data is, we'll see another slide too, garbage in, garbage out. But if your data is not healthy, it's not clean, then man, you're already stuck, right? So how do you clean that data to make sure you can get the outcome that you want, right? And that's going to help the AI to make sense of it better, faster, easier. And for instance, when a vendor email arrives, right, that kicks off a trigger, that kicks off a spark, right? If that vendor email unstructured data is not right or not consistent, how can you train the AI to make sure that they're looking for those things that you've already identified, like are or could be wrong, right? And possibilities. And then without necessarily touching the key, your AI can go look for that vendor email, go coordinate with your CRM, go coordinate with your ERP, and bring those things together, draft up a contact, or an email, whatever, and then come back to you and say, hey, like, did I do this thing correctly? Right? And that's what you want. Right now, you're doing it in steps, via the UI, right? You're saying, oh, how about this? How about this? How about this? Right? And you're kind of putting all that stuff together, but having a one-stop shop place where you can do that and allowing the AI to make decisions is the key part. How we doing on time, guys? Doing okay? Not okay? Okay, cool. I got time. All right. So let's talk about the human in the loop. This is huge. When you think about human in the loop, you want the agent, the goal is you want the agent to do 99% of the work, right? And you just should do 1% of the work. Why not? Right? And I think the reality is like there's so many tools out there today, SaaS programs, et cetera, that they have MCPs available. So the AI can already do the work. You just are that umbrella there to make sure that like that work's getting done the way that you expect it to get done, right? And that 1% is you saying, yes, I approve, no, I don't approve, make the change. You're more in that manager scenario, that owner scenario, which is where we all should be, right? Not necessarily doing the work all the time. Now, when we think about this next product that I'm talking about, this is like the learning loop. This is probably in like 3 years where we're going to see AI trend most, like just probably 99% of the time, guaranteed. Like making sure that AI learns, right? And not just learns from a memory perspective, which is what ConnectQR is doing. It's taking that memory and learning from you, but how do you create a loop from that, right? And so this learning loop becomes something where as it's learning, it's making different decisions based on what it is learning, right? And so a little scary, right? Because it's like, do I trust AI to make decisions on this important thing? Like you gotta have guardrails. Like I mean, it's like giving a toddler. I have a toddler, a wonderful name, Jericho, and he sits up there and he loves to stand on this couch. And I'm like, bro, get down, get your butt down, get your butt down, right? He hasn't learned. So in 5 seconds, he'll get back up on the couch and be like, "Look at me, Dad! This is so cool!" Right? And same thing with AI, right? So you got to be the parent in the room that says, "Get down, don't do that," right? But as they learn, as they mature, right, it gets better, hopefully. But that's kind of the human in the loop, right? And the idea is that the agent is going to be locked in on something over time as these models get better, et cetera, as you train it to get better, as open source becomes better, they're going to be locked in on certain aspects that you give it, and then it will be able to more effectively be you'll hear this term a lot in marketing speak, second brain in the room that allows you to then make the decision as if they were you. Okay. I'm just making sure I'm not missing my name drop of people. All right, moving on. Garbage in, garbage out. So time is a reality check, right? And when you think about how much time you have, that's key, right? There's no point in doing the work that we do if you're putting in data that's incorrect, right? Inaccurate, because that just wastes time, right? You have to go back, clean stuff up, or be like, oh man, they did it again. They missed that tilde, or whatever the case may be. At least that's my world in code, right? You miss the tilde, the whole thing breaks. So, so how can I make sure that my garbage in is actually garbage, so I can deal with it appropriately. When you look at AI and you look at like the infrastructure that runs it, 80%, it's the 80-20 rule, right? 80% is your data layer, your infrastructure. That's key. We talked about it, right? This idea that your data has to be clean, your processes have to be clean, your systems have to be well understood by you, the owner, the user, right? And if all that stuff is done well, then man, the 20% of actually creating the agent, that layer on top of those 18 different like agents that do the work that you ask them to do, makes sense. Now let me put this in terms you may understand, right? Now, if you hire an employee, right, and you're like, hey, you're here, so glad you're here, that's awesome. Hey, we don't have a job description for you. Just do this thing though. We want you to do it well. You don't give them any parameters. You don't tell them how to do it, but you just tell them like, man, just run the social media account, bro. Just do, you got this, man. You got this. Beast. I believe in you. I'll check in with you though, right? And that's how we treat our AI, right? Right? Rough. The AI is going to have a hard time, right? Because there's no set procedures. And this is where that 80% becomes really critical. This is where SOPs and KPIs become really critical, is making sure you give them boundaries and rules, and you give them tips and tricks, best practices on how you did this thing before, what you like, what you don't like, right? Those things matter, because then it sets the AI up for success, sets the human up for success, right? We do the same thing in our work, so we got to do the same thing with AI. All right, I'm gonna name drop my cool friend Andrew. But first, my spiel. You cannot automate a mess, right? 100%, you can't do it. If your data is undocumented, if it's fragmented, the AI agent, like we talked about, is gonna have a confusing time. To fix this idea of a unified semantic layer comes into play, right? We got to make sure that when you're turning your business into different dialects, how does sales need to interact with finance? How does finance need to interact with marketing? How does marketing interact with hiring? Or how our human capital, right? So going back to those capability lists, like that, those things like really resonate with me in terms of running a business. But all those things have to speak to each other, right? And those are different dialects across your business. Now, when you look at that, there's data readiness across each of those layers, right? How do we hire? What do we hire for? Why is hiring even important? What do we need? Do we understand what we need? What are the challenges that's presenting us today? What are our goals for hiring as we forecast 3 years, 5 years down the road? Not just hiring, right? Now you got to do the same thing for marketing, for sales, for operations, etc. Now, Andrew, coming back, has a wonderful software. Do you guys know Andrew? Andrew?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Andrew. We had lunch. It was great. Thanks, Andrew. I really appreciate it. Thanks, man. It was a great lunch. We got to do it again. That was good. He runs this app company, Fence Genius. Obviously, myfence.com. By the way, his domain, fire. Like myfence.com, amazing. But Fence Genius, right? And he actually took all of his systems, his processes, and put it into this app. So now when, like, for instance, he wants to go from quote to cash, he's able to leverage this one app that understands his business process, that understands his flow, and he's able to, you were showing me, right? You're able to put in a customer, right? And generate a quote right there on the spot, emails them, texts them. And I'm like, bro, this is cool. Like, this is awesome. And you run your business off of this. Now, there's another piece of it where like a customer can then go and map out their fencing area, and it automatically generates a quote. And you're like, bro, that's the coolest thing I've seen. Like that makes my job as a consumer a lot easier, right? I don't have to sit up here and stress or be like, oh man, my fencing line, or can you come out and just look at this thing, measure, are you measuring it accurately? No, I get to just do, and then he comes out with a quote and it's done. So simple. He has this whole back office situation where he like makes it and then he just delivers it on site. Now you're talking about production being fast, right? And all that's a system, it's a process. Why not do the same thing in your businesses too, from a software perspective, right? From an actual perspective. So thank you, Andrew, for leading the way. Tech forward. Appreciate you. All right. Cool. But when you think about like this process here, this is controlling the risk, right? We talk about risk. Is AI going to take my bank information and go splurge on a vacation? Yes, maybe. But that's why you don't have too much in your account. It's okay. but you want to be able to control that risk, right, and give it least privilege, right? We talk about this in Microsoft, but this idea of like who has the least amount of privilege and making sure that it's zero trust, right? Like I don't trust anybody. I don't even trust my AI to do the things that I want it to do. It does do the things I want it to do, but I don't trust it. Right. So how can I make sure to give it those certain things to ensure that there's no tool that has more access to do things that it shouldn't do. Right. If I have 100 tools in my AI that's going to go do the things I want it to go do, and one has more access than the other, and it shouldn't, man, I'm in trouble. I'm already in trouble, right? So making sure that you give control to what needs to be controlled, and then you give freedom to what needs to be free. And obviously there's ways and processes on how to do that. There's architecture methodology on how to do that. I'm not boring y'all with that. That's boring. Roadmap. Clean the data ecosystem, build the bounded pilot, start with something small, right? Something you understand, something you can control, right? And then expand the orchestration. And so, for instance, if you wanted to talk about marketing, for instance, if you wanted to create marketing assets or marketing ads, right? And you want 15 more ads this month, great. Start with 2, right? And focus, dial that in, get 2 done well. And then how do I go to 5? How do I then go to 10, right? And have your AI create those. And then you can give feedback along the way. You give it more tools, more control, right? And then over time, you have a goal of 15 to 25% growth in your marketing efforts because you've trained it along the way. You've given it permissions, you've given it tools to do certain things you wanted to do. All right. Last thing, well, a couple last things. AI is not a chatbot, right? It's a system that runs a system. That sounds cliche, but it's really true, especially in today's age, and it'll be more true in the next few years. When we think about that, your data, we talked about it, needs to be clean. Your guardrails need to be set. Your agentic AI, it becomes that invisible glue, right? That finally, like, here's this app fatigue, right? No longer are you going to 5 different apps to do 5 different things, but you can come to one and do all the things you needed to do, right? You've given it the rules, the regulations, the strategies, the policies to execute the things that you want to go do. And a good example of this, I think, is Stephanie's welling business, right? This idea that, like, when you think about what she does and how the body interacts, right? Like the wholeness of a body, right? And like the wholeness of the body, making sure that the body is healthy, right? Making sure that, like, you have the right medicines, you have the right procedures, you have the right therapies, structures. Those types of things are really important. Code is no different, right? You want to make sure that the structure of the health of the code is good, like that is strong, that is sound, it's secure. Those things matter. But so is your business, right? You want to make sure that your business has the right processes, the right structures, that the whole system is working together, right? So when you think about like making sure that you have a coach, right? From a welding perspective, there's a coach that can help you with your weight loss. When you have a coach that's interacting with your business, the AI assistant that understands intrinsically everything that's going on, the numbers you're putting into it. For instance, welding can track your nutritional health. You can take a picture of it. You can record into it. I had pancakes this morning or whatever. I didn't. That would be a bad life choice. But if you have those types of things, it can record that and record your health track over time. Same thing with AI. As you're giving it more data, it can record those things over time and help you make better decisions. Okay, last thing is stop buying dashboards, please, and start building outcomes, right? So catchy slogan, but really at the end of the day, we want to focus on, like, how are we not buying the next thing that's out there that's being marketed to us? And how are we focused on building out a system that actually can work for our business? And so I have a little business audit, AI systems business audit that I do for businesses, where we take all these things we talked about today, much more detail, and interact them into your business. So when you think about all the things that you guys are responsible for today, AI can assist you with probably 99% of that. And so that way you can start running the business the way you desire to. But the first thing is first, which is like a health check on, like, do you understand your processes? Do you understand your procedures? And how are those things laid out? With that, I am done. Yes, Pat.
So basically, when we chatted and everything, so you do custom software development for businesses, but you're also a business consultant, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're kind of doing both at the
Yeah.
same time. I'm gonna help you. What's wrong with your business, and we're gonna build some software for it. My question is, beautiful softwares you've made here. I have one that I pay for a CRM that I'm learning. It's super expensive, super annoying, all these things that I don't have time to do, and I don't even want to have my VA do. They license their software, it's $300 a month or whatever, so I'm like 300, whatever, let's see what we can do. And yours is really nice. Do you license your software at all? Does this software become mine at some point, or can, you know what I mean? Is it always yours? How does that work, I guess?
Yeah, great question. So specifically with my trade software, it's yours. Like I'm building it for you, right? And so at the end of the day, like this software becomes yours. You get to have it, you own it, right? Obviously, then it becomes like when you have that, free AM idea, and you're like, oh, I want to add this thing into the app. Then what, right? Two scenarios. One is you pay me then that monthly development fee, right? Where I can go interact with that thing that you want into the app. Or two, you don't pay me anything, but then now you're responsible for everything. And so you pay for the hosting, you pay for the AI, you pay for all that stuff, but then you get then you're responsible for bringing that thing into your app as well. But it's yours.
Yeah.
The code's yours.
Because AI can help anybody's business.
Yeah.
Clearly, if that's not clear by now, I mean, they can tell you the problems and you can build that for them.
100%.
Because my thing is, I don't know the prompts to ask it, right?
Yeah.
So I get dumb responses, but you know the prompts clearly. You know, with those prompts, then you're also a coach and you're also able to do the work. That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, Devin. Thanks, Pat.
So my question was, for those of us in the room that are in like a heavily federally regulated industry and business, like what are the biggest issues you see helping someone like Gina, myself, maybe Chelsea on the attorney side, where it's like you do anything and you don't have like a 15-page disclosure signed by somebody or you get sued in prison? Like, how do you manage that? What's your recommendation for people now?
Yeah, 100%. First is like, where's your data being stored? That's always my first question, right? If it's on some like, Airtable or whatever, like get it off, put it on SOC 2 compliance, right? Make sure that like all the, regulations, PII. For instance, that's a good question. So like, education is another place I'm working in, like students' names and stuff like that. There's PII everywhere, right? Especially special education, right? So like same type of thing. So making sure that all the data is compliant off of the servers and onto like very isolated, like zero trust environment. There's minimal PII that's going into there, so there's low risk, right? And then making sure that when you interact with AI, you're not setting it up to AI that can like then go learn from that data, but it's open source, so it's controllable onto your environment. Again, you can containerize it, put it into an isolated environment, and then that way there's nothing going in between. So that's how I would do that. Yeah, but yeah, we've done that quite a bit. So yeah, Andre.
Talking about offline, not here, but with the networking app that you built.
Yeah.
You showed like just real quick, like the constellation thing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Dude, I forgot the cool part. Thanks, man. That is the cool part, isn't it? All right, guys, you're not ready. I wasn't ready when I saw it. All right. So these are my 34 people. It's great. Tons of people in here. Right, man, a lot of scrolling, a lot of like, oh, I gotta go figure it out. But there's also this map. Okay. And this map is like a constellation. I know. You can say wow, it's okay. Wow. It's pretty amazing. I was kind of shocked too. But what's really cool is like this is your homie, me, right? And then these are all the people that I'm networking with over a period of time. Now, like I just started this within the last 30 days, so I only have 36. But man, I've been networking since like 5 years old. So there's a lot more people I got to add in here, right? But over time, what's super cool is that I get a weekly digest email of like, hey, you know what? Pat is in your network, and John down the street that like, man, he's looking for a roof, right? And go connect with Pat and make sure that you can close that deal. Like it sends me that message, right? So I'm not having to sit up there and like think about all that stuff, but it's just saying, as I'm networking with people, as I'm jotting down notes, as I'm logging the touch points, as I'm recording the conversation and uploading it into the thing, the brain is remembering. I don't have to remember. And then the constellation becomes really cool. So here's my brother Pat, right? And then I can be like, cool. I give him 5 stars. Okay. I get to give people a little star review. I'm like, man, Pat's cool. I give him 5 stars. I'll get everyone in this room 5 stars, you know? Maybe. But anyway, the point is that I get to rate that relationship, right? And then over time, it can then suggest to me things like, hey, if that affinity is really poor, then maybe I don't want to send my leads and stuff that way, right? I can do, if I open up Pat's full profile here.
Let's go.
Sorry, Pat, to put you on blast. So here I don't have much for you, but
They got to follow up. That's cool.
yeah. So like I could put a little bio, like what's his archetype, right? And then like how often am I gonna follow up with this brother, you know? And then did he purchase from me? Whatever, that's important for me. Needs matrix. These are things like, hey, like what does he need right now? How can I help him? What's that next step? You put all that down, right? Contextual notes, how we met, right? His role in the group, all this stuff, right? So I can go, and then people that he introduced me to, right? And so I can start putting these things in. When I put down like, hey, he introduced me to Matt, great. Now Matt's gonna show up in my constellation, right? With a dotted line, right? So then I'm talking to Matt and I'm like, hey, like, oh man, how did we get connected? Like, oh, through Pat. And I don't have to remember, like, man, it's 12 years later, like, how did we get connected? No, it's all right here. And then, obviously there's more tabs, etc. But as I'm filling out this profile and learning more about Pat, it's then taking that relationship history between me, between him, and then now I can like start having real dialogue and conversation about moving his business forward, moving me forward, etc. Justin.
Okay, so we use Salesforce.
Yeah.
Obviously, one of the bigger SaaS systems, and we did a very extensive build out.
Yeah.
There just always seems to be more and more and more and more and more that we don't want to add, or we didn't think to ask it or stuff like that. Would you audit what our SaaS system, like what our system is, and where we're hitting cues, where we're missing the cues, and maybe even have a presentation of like, hey, you should get off this because this is what you're spending.
Yeah.
Like a financial even audit of like, well, this is all the money that you're spending. You have all these APIs, all these Zapier connections. You had to upgrade this, do this. You have to store your service here. You only have so much storage. So you're going to have to upgrade this at some time. It's like we're in the middle of all that.
Yeah.
And we're the dumb monkeys that are like, oh yeah, let's build this out. And our engineer is saying like, well, how do you want it built out? And he's really good about telling us what to do, but sometimes you're like, hey, we want it to look like this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, we can't do that because of Salesforce.
Salesforce, yep.
Box that you can't.
Yep.
But everyone says you can do everything on Salesforce.
Sure.
How much money do you want to spend?
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
So I guess that's the question too, is like, what we want to build, because you want to be one of the biggest pain companies in Western Washington, is how do we do that effectively without spending hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars?
Sure.
Is that even feasible?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So I guess first question is, would you do an audit? Like
Yes.
if we were to like sit with you and say, hey, here's our system, here's our procedure, here's all the systems we have to use and all the different APIs, API connections we have to do. Oh, we can streamline this, add this and this.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And that goes for anyone in this room.
Does it take to develop? Because developing
Right.
just the software that we've done has just been
We're on
forever,
year
a year and a half.
Yeah.
It's
It's
painful.
It's painful. It's painful. What's your name?
No, it's Kelly.
Kelly.
I've been,
Her,
yeah.
years together.
Oh, awesome. Great. Oh,
Not wife.
beautiful,
but-
beautiful. My wife, beautiful.
Mom, I'm the old one.
Hi, Mom. Moms, thank you. Yes.
Anthony, the answer to that is that you can do it a whole lot quicker because
Oh,
you're
yeah.
using AI to build
Yeah.
100%.
software.
Yeah. So with that kid, the ConnectQR thing that we're looking at, like that took me a month. Right. So like very fast, right? And I have tons of capabilities in here, right? The CSS service thing you saw, like took me 2 weeks to build. So yeah, very fast. It just depends on going back to like SOPs, processes, making sure you're clear about what you want. And then once we do that,
Well, we know what we do,
Yeah.
but no one else could do.
Beautiful.
What we do.
this is the problem. This is the problem, right? It's stuck here.
It's not.
It's stuck here, right? Yep. And that's what I see a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I see a lot. So yeah, happy to do a lot of it. And that goes for anyone anyone in this room. If you think about like how you can use AI, man, can I use AI? All these things. Happy to do an audit. Happy to sit down with you because this is super important, right? And we're either going to leverage it or be left behind in it. So I want to make sure that you guys are leveraging it and being successful. So yeah,
Yeah.
happy to do that. Yes, ma'am.
How many clients do you work with at any given time?
Good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say like healthfully probably like 16 at a given time.
Like in big projects, like I need to design my whole new app system.
Yeah.
16.
16. Yep.
You have a big size team or?
Yeah, I have 12 people.
Oh,
All right, guys, I think Anthony will be here for a little bit.
I will,
Right?
yes.
Want to have some conversation with him?
Yes.
You might need to come back.
So one thing that I do want to say is, I think this is beneficial for all of us because there's a few people that we've met, Cindy and I have met, and like, I think the hard part for all of us is like, who do I talk to about this? Like, there's all this stuff happening,
Yeah.
and then you go to Salesforce and they're like, here you do, 2 years out, and I went to HubSpot and I was like, oh my gosh, this sucks. And I know that there's there's something better. So that's why I felt like he could bring some of that to us. There's another guy who's not necessarily in our group that Andrew introduced me to, who's built out like the TapBusiness Connect website, who uses, agents and AI to build websites, and he's doing that just systematically. It looks great, right? So it's like finding these people that are they're hard to find, right? Outside these big businesses. Yeah, so take time to, and he didn't come up here trying to sell himself, but it's like, even me, I'm like,
It's the information.
I need to hire him.
Yeah,
I need to hire him. Just gotta hire him.
Anyway, he's fine.
30 people in here, all right. So thank you guys so much. You can network for a little bit, take off, do whatever you're gonna do. Really appreciate you guys being here, okay?